All right, what is up, fam? So today we're gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna talk, very, very casually. We'll call this a coffee with Rubin. So I got a coffee here. And I'm gonna do these videos more often on this channel. Like within this community, I want to do these videos more often because, I think I want to connect with you guys deeper, and I want to talk about other topics, social anxiety obviously as well, but other topics, just my life experiences, so we can just get to know each other a little better. Okay. Today, let's see. Today, what I want to talk about really is this. I see this happening over and over and over again. People who reach out to me, people who, they have burning questions, people who want help. Fix this mic here, but there's this over-glorification, I would call it. This over-glorification of using the mind. And this is, I'm coming at this with years of experience, right? Overcoming addictions, overcoming social anxiety, all of the personal development. So I've been free from, social anxiety. It's been, over 5 years. And then prior to that, I was working on it for a few years, as you know, you probably heard the story, trying every solution I could find. CBT, hypnosis, social confidence, affirmations, breathing techniques, therapists, psychologists. Probably know the whole story if you're watching this video because it's just a more casual one, right? And so this what I've learned over the past almost a decade of experience with this thing, been helping people overcome it for the past few years, right? And what I see, this is one of the biggest barriers for people to overcome, is the use of their minds. It's crazy how much people want to think their way through things, use reasoning, use logic, okay? And at the heart of it, the whole recovery from social anxiety it's a movement away from using the left side of your brain, the more logical part of your brain, and it's moving towards being able to develop and cultivate the right side of your brain, which is more intuitional and feeling, okay? That is the aspect of your brain that you're really trying to develop. So away from logic, because in those situations when you're getting severely triggered, you're feeling on edge around people, all of those things, that left side of the brain, yeah, it's trying to be logical, but your body's saying something else, okay? And I remember going to, this was my experience. I remember for decades wanting my body and my voice to do something, and in my mind I wanted something to happen, but it would never happen for decades. It never happened for me, ever. And being in work meetings, even up until my early 30s, being in a work meeting, trying to speak up, trying to use willpower, use ego, use my grit, use my absolute, all my energy into speaking up and giving my opinion. It never happened. Never freaking happened. And I remember I remember at one point was me going to, sorry, this mic here. I'm gonna do a better job here. But I remember going to, at one point, I remember going to the SkyTrain, right? Going to the SkyTrain. This is the typical day for me, right? I remember going to this one station, and usually the etiquette here around Van City, right? You're on the SkyTrain. When it comes to your stop, people are supposed to get out of the way. They allow you to get out, and then they get on the train, right? At this one stop, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was the deal with that one stop, but they would always rush you into the SkyTrain. They wouldn't let you out, okay? And I remember over and over, every single morning, I would be in my head before the stop, like, okay, you're gonna speak up. You're gonna speak up to these people, and you're gonna tell them to let you out of the SkyTrain so they don't rush you in. You're gonna stand up for yourself. And it never happened. Just over and over and over and over again. Every single day. Willpower, affirmations, visualize. Use your mind. Use the mind to overcome this thing. And it just never, ever happened. Never with that type of approach. So ultimately, I remember what the freeing thing was, because you have to realize, like, whether you're talking about me at the SkyTrain or me, in the work meetings, for example, your mind, you have to understand that your mind is a tool. It's simply a tool to keep your body alive. Okay, that's how we've evolved as humans. Your mind is always going to go for the thing that it believes is going to keep your body alive and lead to good feelings, okay? So for example, this is why the approach, it leads to so much frustration if you buy into the mind and you really buy into its narrative and you buy into the solutions that it wants to go after in order for you to overcome this thing. Trust me, I did that for years. It's really going to latch onto this thing. So let me give you an example here. In the work meeting, my mind is it's going to speak up. I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm going to give my opinions, and it's going to earn all this respect, and it's going to earn all of this, it's going to prove to people that I'm here, I belong, and I'm a contributing member of the team. And so what my mind did in those moments is it associated speaking up, right? Speaking up, projecting my voice, giving my opinions, or articulating things. It had this thing that it was envisioning, okay? The story it was telling inside my head. It really latched onto that because it truly believed, my mind truly believed that thing, that speaking up, was going to help me feel worthy, make me feel important inside, okay? So that's the mind solution. Now the problem is, when you latch on to the narrative that the mind has, it actually sits above a layer above reality, okay? It's not, the question asked and the solution provided at the level of the mind is not in touch with reality. So let me give you an example here. If we take a look at this bird's eye view and we take a look at me in that meeting, there's this guy in his 30s he's tense. He feels like he has something to prove. He has all of this energy and these thoughts going, these feelings going through him. And he's just ultimately placing way too much importance on speaking up. Why? Because he bought into the narrative of the mind. Okay? So ultimately, though, that's not in touch with reality, because ultimately everyone's there just to share their opinions, collaborate. They're there to meet, to come together to achieve a shared goal for the group, right? But as you can see, that's very ego-driven. So that's a massive ego-driven thing, or that type of energy that I'm in within that meeting. Now, ultimately, if the question and the solution provided by the mind, right? If we go lower, if we go ultimately to the root of that, if you will, okay? So ultimately, if we go down to the feelings, okay? And the feelings in those moments is I feel completely unimportant, okay? I feel unimportant. I don't feel like my opinion matters. I don't feel like anyone cares what I have to say. That's the true internal experience. If we use the mind as something to direct you towards the internal dynamic, then we start to look for a different solution, if that makes sense. So think about it. Instead of the question is, how do I project my voice? How do I give my opinions? How do I be more confident? Okay? That's the solution at the mind level. But if we go down into the somatic or the bodily experience or the feelings, the emotions, if we go down to that level, the question asked is, why do you feel so unworthy? Why do you feel like nobody cares about what you have to say? Okay? The solution is to go back to figure out why those feelings, why those emotions are there. So as you can see, it's two completely different levels of questioning and solutioning. Okay? The intellectual level and the more somatic experiential level. Okay? And if you keep playing into the mind, the questions and the solutions you receive are not going to actually get to the root issue. Okay? You think you have a certain problem. You think it's a confidence problem. You think it's a matter of projecting your voice. I used to look at videos that were, how to project your voice. How do you have a deeper voice? Blah, blah, blah. There's a shit ton of that stuff on YouTube that you can go look at. And I did that. I did that a ton. How to project your voice, how to do this, how to do that. But that's not the solution you're looking for. And that's what the mind does. If you play into the mind's narrative, it's going to take you down this rabbit hole that doesn't face the issue directly. Okay? So ultimately, what's really important here, and what I've seen over the years is that the mind, it's only since it's only a tool to keep your body alive. Okay, that's what the mind does. Okay, it scans your environment based on your experiences in the past, and it keeps you safe. It's a safety mechanism to keep your body alive. The only thing that you should be using your mind to do is to make decisions. Okay, decisions. Once you make the decision, you should be in action. Okay, so let me break it down this way. When you make a decision, so let's say initially the problem and solution was, how do I project my voice? Solution, okay, let's go on YouTube and let's watch videos on how to have a deep voice. Okay, so there's one level. Okay, if I actually go down into the deeper level, the more experiential level, okay, where does that unworthiness and unimportance come from? Okay, bang, the decision, okay, the decision is, I want to go heal this old stuff up. Okay, where did it come from? I want to go find someone. I want to go get some help from somebody. I want to get some mentorship or, somebody who's been down this path. I need to go figure out where this is coming from. Boom. Once you do that, you need to go take the action. Okay? There's nothing to think about. See, this is why the mind, it's only going to serve you when it's making a decision in order to take action. You should always be actioning towards something, because this whole social anxiety thing, it's not something you think your way out of. It's something you experience and you do and you feel your way out of it, okay? So action, let's say I go get some help for it. I go figure out where all that unworthy and importance is, okay? And I try to heal that up. Then what's the next decision? The next decision is, I'm going to go take action. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go back to the SkyTrain. I'm going to go test and experience or experiment with this thing. I'm going to go back in the work meetings. I'm going to experiment this thing. But see, that's experimenting. I'm going back to experimenting. I'm not going back to trying to use my mind and will my way through it and get back into my ego and try to hammer at this thing to make me speak up. I'm going and I'm doing, I'm experimenting, I'm getting more information in order to get that feedback, right? And then adjust and improve based on that real-time feedback. Do you see how there's not a whole lot to think about? Overthinking all of these things it's basically because you're lacking action, okay? Action is the biggest, the most effective way to dissipate any sort of emotional overwhelm, fear, okay? For example, let's say, big problem with social anxiety is going in a work meeting and you're experiencing all of these physical symptoms, shaky voice, blank mind, racing heart, can't breathe. That's that experience, okay? But if you get to a level where you can do that without the physical symptoms, okay? The most effective way to dissipate all those emotions and anticipation and butterflies in the stomach is to go do the thing. Okay, that's really important. This is a very tricky form of anxiety though, because what if your mind goes blank? What if your heart races? What if you get the shaky voice? What if it's absolutely humiliating? Well, then you have to decide to not do that thing and decide to go work on this thing internally and see where those physical symptoms are coming from. It's a decision to do that, okay? And this really translates, what I've noticed as well, is this really translates over to, sorry, we can hear that. But this really translates over to social anxiety sufferers, for example. They're very indecisive, okay? So they'll be in a conversation, they're uncomfortable, they want to get out of it, but they don't decide to get out of it, okay? No, they're hanging in there. How am I coming across? Oh, I don't like this person's energy, but I don't want to be, I don't want to come across as not polite. So they stay in the conversation. Then they're kind of in there and they're kind of not. See, do you see the lack of decisiveness? This is something that you really need to build within yourself, is being an extremely decisive person. I don't like this person's energy. I'm out. Make the decision, leave, right? Say something, get out of the conversation, okay? Decisiveness is one of the core qualities that you want to develop, okay? So again, it's to sum this video up, I know it was a more casual one, but to sum the video up, it's basically use the mind in a very minimal way, okay? Don't use the mind. If you're sitting there thinking, I created a manual, I have a YouTube video, I have talking all about this stuff, about getting to the roots of things and blah, blah, blah. And then what do people do? Right away, they start going and they start thinking about it. Well, I wonder what it could be. And they start thinking of this memory. Yeah, you know what? I think it's this memory. And, oh yeah, I think that's the root of it. Your mind doesn't have the ability to go there, okay? So you have to get yourself down into the body, into your emotions. A more somatic, a more experiential way to find and heal those deeper traumas and that deeper pain, okay? So ultimately, if you can take anything from this video, the mind is only there to keep your body alive, okay? Use it as a decision maker to take action, gain feedback, and then with that feedback, you make another decision for more action. And don't think, here's another thing that people underestimate. They underestimate that action is, going to seek out some help for this thing, or getting some more mentorship to figure out where their traumas and their pain are coming from. That is sometimes more effective action than going out there and pursuing that job and going out and being social. This is more action. It's more courageous action, in my opinion, to actually see what the hell is coming, where it's coming from. Because remember, sometimes what's really important here is this, with the mind, right? The problem solution at the intellectual, at the mind level. Remember, one of it was like, hey, how do I project my voice? So I'm in the meeting, I'm feeling insecure, I'm not opinionated. So what do? I go on YouTube and I try to project my voice. And then I want to go in the meeting and I want to start practicing, using my vocal cords or whatever that advice is. That is not actually action, right? That is an intellectual way of, it's an intellectually driven type of action. Remember again though, it's not facing the actual problem head on. So you may be thinking it's action, but really it's just busyness, okay? And there's a huge difference between unconscious action, compensatory action, overcompensating action like this, like what I was talking about, trying to project your voice like I was doing, or doing exposure therapy in order to feel more confident, that is compensatory action, okay? But ultimately, you're not facing your actual fear. You're not facing the actual underlying problem underneath, okay? So it's important to use the mind to go down into the experiential level, to go down, deactivate the mind and get a more emotionally focused experiential solution, okay? And then action. The action could be actually the complete opposite direction of speaking up, doing exposures and something like that. It might be just going, hey, let's go talk to somebody who's actually figured this thing out and getting advice and getting help, okay? That action, it's conscious because you're actually facing what the actual problem is. This is facing your fears, okay? So that's a really important thing. Don't be fooled about if you feel like you're busy and you're taking action and you're grinding and you're going after it. I used to do that all the time. I used to wake up and try to talk to 20, 30 strangers, and I'd write down and all my experiences and everything. I would just hammer at this thing. That's just a guy that's just still running from his problems, okay? That guy, that past self that I was, he has no idea what's actually driving that whole thing because he's taking this intellectual approach. He's buying into his mind what the actual question is, and he's coming up with solutions on that level, okay? So I really hope this makes sense for you. I just wanted to get on camera here and just talk to you about what my experience is with all these years of experience dealing with, obviously dealing with the social anxiety myself and then overcoming it and then, helping people with it for the last few years. And so ultimately, that's what I've seen with my students as well. We had one student come through where he did this thing on YouTube, and he found this video because he really struggled with eye contact. It was just way too stimulating. Felt like he was staring into the sun, right? He found this video where the guy would make you stare. He would stare into the screen with you for like, I don't know how many minutes, but you just stare and stare and stare. And then when he got back out there in the real world, it didn't move the needle at all, right? And that's because, again, it's like that problem solution thing. Which level? Is that the intellectual level? Well, hammering at it, forcing it, using your ego to just force yourself to be good at eye contact? Or are you going down and maybe realizing that eye contact it's associated with being judged, maybe past shame or something like that you got to figure out. So what I would recommend, we're going to end off here, but what I would recommend is download my free guide. It's extremely powerful. It's going to help you get down to what exactly is happening. It's going to use your mind in a very, remember, decisive and directional way to point you towards what the actual problem is so that you can actually face your fears, not bypass them and overcompensate with this other type of busyness, okay? So I'll link that below the video. Make sure you check that out. And yeah, I'm gonna be doing some more of these coffees, these more casual talks. If you want any topic, you want me to touch on any topic, you're part of this community, you wanna hear me talk about something in particular, just let me know, because we're gonna get more personal. We're gonna get to know each other better. And if you're still watching, thank you so much for staying with me till the end. It's always a pleasure to spend this time with you. And I'll see you soon. I'll see you in the next video. All right, peace.